It's Wednesday, the 8th of November, 2017. Who cares what block height it is? Who gives a shit? Because today is no 2x day. Remember, the 8th of November, guys. Give it up. Give it up loud. Turn up to 11.
Woo!
What?
What happened? Was there news? Was there news?
Something like some stuff got called off or something, and
Something
the other goofballs have to like do a thing to like fix their fuck up.
Look at this. Do you like?
There's victory or something and stuff.
I'm just going through all the memes. BTC Art Gallery has been posting all the memes today. It's done a great job. I think this one is one of my favorite ones. Takers. Everyone's after something.
Think of each of these as like the photo of the moment of victory in its own battle that cumulatively led to us winning the war.
This one's my favorite. Oh no, the original one said it's backroom time. Backroom time. Backroom Barry. Yeah. There were different versions of that. This one's one of my favorites from Philippe as well. He's a real legend in the space. Mm-hmm. And we got some more. Yes, we have some more.
So many.
But it all started with this. It all started with this, which isn't as impressive as a visual, is it? It's not quite as impressive, but it is sort of piece for our time. Monkey, what do you make of it? This is written by Mike Belshi a bit ago. What did he say? Shall I read it out?
Where the pretend hard fork is going to stay pretend because everybody knew that this wasn't actually going to happen, and we were just playing, guys. It's just a red team exercise.
Yeah.
I can't.
Do we get to brag? Like, if one of us had said that this was a bluff and it wasn't going to happen, do we get to brag about that on air as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Totally.
So I can brag. I can brag that I said this was a bluff and it wasn't going to happen. Mr. Hoddle, are you there? I'm in. Where is he?
I am here. I am here.
What do you think? Do you want to brag a little bit? We've all got our brag time.
No, I really don't want to brag. I just want people to smarten up. That's all I want. I think people have to understand sooner or later that Bitcoin works on incentives and that this was a doomed project from the get-go. And unless you knew how Bitcoin works, you fell for it. You fell for the FUD. So I'm not surprised that this happened. I don't want to brag because I don't think we should brag. I think we should educate.
That's that nobody took you up on a 1-to-1 OTC trade before this fell apart.
Yeah, I'm a little sour. I was the first person to offer a 1-to-1 trade, and then Charlie Lee just took that offer, and he basically took what I had to say, and he placed that offer, and then everyone forgot about me, and then he got all the action. So yeah, I didn't get my 1-to-1 trade, which sucks, but maybe next time.
I'm wondering, did any of that go through? Any of that?
No, none of that. None of that's going through. Basically, what was discussed was that the fork had to have happened, and if it doesn't happen, then the deal's off. So Roger made out on this, I think, more than anyone.
Okay, no deal.
So here we have a really good visualization by Shinobi of what consensus might look like here on the left when the SegWit got activated. And this is what no consensus looks like, or overwhelming consensus, but only in air quotes. Good graphic, good meme. You also made this meme.
Consensus.
Just so many memes. We could just spend the whole show going through these memes. I love it. Cornering the meme space. I want to spend. This is BTC Art Gallery. Please follow him on Twitter. He's a really cool guy. He collects all the art in the Bitcoin space. This was one of my favorites as well. Load up. There you go.
It's really funny how, like you were saying, the last battle, this long thing, and it's like, yeah, battle was filled with memes, just filled with it.
Yeah.
It's an information war. I like fighting with memes more than I like fighting with weapons because like nothing gets hurt except people's egos.
Yeah, man.
And these No 2X hats, are they coming out?
I had to rig mine up with some duct tape and a pin right there, but I think it works all right for right now.
Yeah, they actually are coming out. They're they're going to be a collector's item faster than we expected, but yeah, they are coming out.
Fantastic. I like this one as well.
I mean, we didn't even have to start taking pictures with the hats this time. They relented before the hats even got to the market.
That's
shit.
That's where the story is. It's diminishing returns. I mean, the diminishing returns on the forking has been so extreme that it's already resulted in failure here. So we didn't even get to the hat stage this time. Like I was going through and looking at hats, and I think that all of us were going through and looking at hats. And this is, you know, if we should focus on anything, it should be the loss of money that we don't get to spend on broken windows and hats.
Blake, we didn't even get to the mining stage for you to talk about. So I guess you're just here to, you know, look pretty in the background.
Well, it's good because if I had talked about mining, then eventually somebody would have to tell me to dial back the ethics about
right.
30%.
But look, I love this meme as well. Pushing the blocks. I really like it. It's so creative. And here you've got Bitcoin just stomping over all the pretenders. It's just so good. They're all just so good. Where's all the S2X? Where's the S2X crowd with their memes and their creativity?
That meme, like they just can't. That's the beauty of a meme. It like encapsulates an entire self-consistent truth into a single picture, and they don't have truth, so they can't meme.
Well,
I've expected work from employees in the past, and my sock puppets, they're fucking bad at making memes. Every time I tell my sock puppets to make memes, they don't fucking do it. They don't listen very good.
I don't think there's anyone there to meme. Like, I think all the big blockers, they're with the Bcash camp. And I really don't think there's anybody out there that had any interest besides maybe 10 people in seeing 2X succeed. So I just don't think there was anybody there.
I never met a Yes2X. I mean, apart from James Bond, but, you know, I don't know if he's trolling or not. This is Tone. Good old Tone. Look how happy he is. So happy.
I think that's the first
I wanted
time.
it because I wanted it to split so I could get free coins, because if life has taught me anything, it's that free stuff comes along every day and you just got to be ready to speak up and get your free stuff, and then, you know, the free stuff can flow. So I wanted some free stuff. There would have been no socialized cost or negative externality. Anybody that was talking about that, it's just, you know, they didn't want me as an individual to have free stuff, and fuck that. I mean, they're bad people. So, you know, remember that. Keep that in mind next time this happens.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time I've ever actually seen Tone genuinely look happy.
Yeah, he looks amazing there. He looks like, wow, I'm so relieved.
It's the moon picture. Yeah, he's gonna be looking like that at 100,000.
Yeah, I like this one as well. It's an animated GIF from Jim BTC. It's just brilliant. I love this stuff. It's so human. It's real. It's authentic. It's like, these are real people. Oh yeah, and obviously big shout out to Nick Szabo for virtue signaling at the last minute. I didn't capitulate, by the way. I just didn't lower myself to it, but there he is with the No 2X.
You didn't have to.
Yeah.
Scales for us.
Yeah. All right.
I just imagine like Belshi and Garzik and Voorhees and everybody in a room just like, shit. No 2X to his handle. Fuck. We can't win, guys. This is a disaster.
They got that metronome on deck.
I just wanted to say, listen, like, Nick Szabo definitely has pull in this community. Like, he deserves respect, but this failed because it just, Bitcoin was designed to prevent these type of attacks. So if Nick was on board or he wasn't on board, this was still going to fail.
No way, dude. Nick is my dad, and he can beat up your dad any day of the week. And
Okay.
that's how we need to frame this stuff.
Okay, so This is it. Peace for our time. Mike Belshie stepped out onto the podium, probably after a private meeting somewhere in a hotel room. I assume very expensive and luxurious. And he says, the SegWit 2x effort began in May with a simple purpose: to increase the block size and improve Bitcoin scalability. At the time, the Bitcoin community was in crisis. After nearly 3 years of heavy debate, and consensus for SegWit seemed like a distant mirage with only 30% of support among miners. SegWit 2x found its first success in August as it broke the deadlock and quickly led to SegWit's successful activation. Since that time, the team shifted its efforts to phase 2 of the project, a 2 megabyte block size increase. Our goal has always been a smooth upgrade for Bitcoin. Although we strongly believe in the need for larger block size, there is something we believe in even more important: keeping the community together. Unfortunately, it is clear that we have not built sufficient consensus for a clean block size upgrade at this time. Continuing on the current path could divide the community and be a setback to Bitcoin's growth. This was never the goal of SegWit 2x. As fees rise on the blockchain, we believe it will eventually become obvious that on-chain capacity increases are necessary. When that happens, we hope the community will come together and find a solution, possibly with a block size increase. Until then, we are suspending our plans for upcoming 2 megabyte upgrade. We want to thank everyone that contributed constructively, Shinobi, to SegWit 2x, whether you were in favor or against. Your efforts are what makes Bitcoin great. Bitcoin remains the greatest form of money mankind has ever seen, and we will remain dedicated to protecting and fostering its growth worldwide. Mike Belshie, Wences Caceres, Jihan Wu, Jeff Garzik, Peter Smith, and Eric Voorhees.
I didn't get free money. I demand restitution.
Drunk Shinobi cannot be contained. We are withholding this until then. What kind of bullshit language is that? It's bullshit. Hey, we're going to spam the network again. We're going to drive fees up, and then we're going to be like, but no, guys, we really need it this time.
I really feel like you're being toxic. You're being toxic. Stop being toxic.
No. I am being drunk, sir. And you're gonna put that Imgur link up there. Up my drunkenness with proof that these fucking retards are already thinking about the next bullshit to pull after this.
What have we said about the R word? What have we said about the R word?
It's mean.
Yeah, and it's not helpful. And right, okay. So here's your Imgur link.
BTC1 Slack, where they're already talking about how our miners gonna roll back SegWit concerning transactions now and only let through transactions that take a SegWit output and put it back into a normal one. We're just going to do an extension block soft forked in that we can just make a dumb gigablock extension block. They're completely full of shit. Like, they're just posturing. We finally realized, guys, even though it was totally not immediately obvious up until today that there was no consensus here. So we're just going to back off until we do another spam attack. And then, oh my God, guys, it's too expensive. We need 2x this time. Like, get the fuck out of here. People aren't going to see this coming. Like we're not going to realize what's going on when they wait a couple months and start spamming shit and try and pull this shit again, or try to come back and do an extension block with a dynamic Bitcoin unlimited sizing instead of try a hard fork. Like, get the fuck out of here. See this shit. We know what's coming. Go ahead and try it so I can point at this YouTube video of me drunkenly calling your stupid asses out before you try it.
Shawneen?
All right, drunk Shinobi rant over.
Yeah, that was one thing that a lot of people were noticing in that statement, is that they weren't saying we're going to consider a new date for SegWit 2x once we get consensus from the community. What they said was, we're going to wait until fees increase, and it pushes everyone on to accept SegWit 2x. So yeah, that's definitely a red flag.
What is it? It's like the Soviet army, like retreating and salting the earth and like killing all the cattle and poisoning the rivers, and then they'll start a new line to fight on. And then by the time you get set up at that line and you're ready to fight, then they retreat and they salt all all the earth, and they poison the rivers and stuff. And then by the time you're ready to, actually fight the fight, you're so tired and worn down. So maybe they're trying to turn the diminishing returns that they're facing in terms of the cascading fork desire into a diminishing return on our ability to fight against bullshit.
I think what's going to happen is if all of a sudden you see fees increase, you're going to start seeing companies adopt SegWit much, much quicker because it's a much faster fix than trying to hard fork again and try to convince people that we need to go to 2 megabytes again. And they're just going to fall dead on their face. So I think if they start spamming the network, honestly, I think that's bullish because I think that's going to get every business, everybody to implement SegWit, and that's what we need. And then once SegWit gets fully implemented, then we can start, talking second layer solutions like Lightning Network.
Yeah, but that's my point, Hado. We need to actually call shit out. Like, not just pretend everything's all good and all the problems are solved.
It's all
not
good.
Wait until they're actually doing
dude.
shit. Like their
Dude,
whole move.
What have we been doing for the last 3.5 years?
Their whole next move is right there in that letter. We're gonna wait a little while. Wait till you're not.
But what's the difference between
anything,
that and Classic?
Bam! We need a hard fork.
But this is nothing new.
New people are coming.
Yeah,
I still consider it
So
Classic. This is just another mutation of Classic.
Yeah,
in my view.
Classic, in my opinion. In my opinion, Classic.
Guys, like I think you're inferring a pessimism that's not here in my tone of voice. They're wrecked. We just keep putting the screws on them. Like keep calling them out, and they're wrecked. As long as that voice of they're obviously going to do this doesn't stop on, and everybody hears that as time marches on, try and do the exact thing that people are calling out as the next thing coming, and watch it blow up in your face even faster than the last time.
Yeah, if they start complaining about fees, honestly, like that statement, they talk about how successful they were at breaking the deadlock for SegWit activation, yet they still don't have these SegWit addresses. It's just like, yeah, I mean, like, why are they going to complain about fees if they're not actually taking the steps to reduce it?
What is this? Tell me what this is. What am I looking at right now?
This is the CEO of a notorious Bitcoin security company compromised by somebody trying to pull one of the oldest scams in the book. Hey, I lost access to my money. I'm a Nigerian prince that got banned from the kingdom. Just send me a little money to get my fortune back, and I'll pay you back later.
Okay, all right. So what we have here is Chris Champion, Cool Bears CJS on Twitter, as a friend of mine.
Chris Slice, I do believe.
Okay, and yeah, so he received this DM from the CEO of BitGo, which is a Bitcoin security company. I think it advertises itself as 100% secure, and this is the CEO getting his account compromised. And Jameson Lopp says, thanks, I'll let him know. He's a colleague. And someone did actually point out that the hacker could have made a lot more money by just saying that the NYA has been withdrawn, and you could have just longed Bitcoin, but I guess he didn't think of that.
Yeah, but see, like, real quick, I want to point out here, I think that Belshi is a complete skis ball. I would have, and I did, poke Lop about this and go, hey, about this. And even somebody that I have possible opinion of as a person, I'm gonna fucking try and help out a fucked up situation when I see it. A lot of people are gonna try and help out like this fucked up situation despite having such a low opinion of him. And I mean, that's I don't think a lot of people on the other side of this grasp. Like, so many people, the New York agreement and pushed for this. They're Like they got told that an idea they had was a bad idea once a long time ago, and they just got super butthurt by that, and just let that fester, and have constantly been just reactionally lashing out ever since that somebody told me my idea was bad. Grow up. Like
Speaking of bad ideas,
JW
I was
was
in
saying yesterday. Like, go.
I was gonna say, speaking of bad ideas, Chris Weiss, who's funny, who shared that cool bear, said it's the same person. I was in Vegas and we were at a place where it was a conference and somebody was getting up and getting really huge round of applause for being like, Bitcoin can be PayPal 2.0. And Chris got up and screamed at the top of his lungs, louder than anybody I've ever heard, "Nobody wants another, PayPal." I thought that was a really, really funny thing to say when people were like, it's gonna be PayPal 2.0 over and over and over again. I think Chris is one of the OGs that was like, hey, let's scream at the top of our lungs right now. Nobody wants that. So shout out to Chris. He tells that story sometimes, and I think that it's funny.
Should we start going through some
JW
of the...
was just real quick. Like JW was saying yesterday, like this isn't even the start of it. Of governments like directly trying to play these games. So like to be a little condescending in my plea for reason, let's pull up our britches, let's act like big boys, and let's figure out if we're in this for the same reason or not. Because if we are, problems, then you told me my idea was a bad idea 4 years ago and I still haven't gotten over that.
I'm still mad at Shinobi for not signing up under me in OneCoin, dude. All of OneCoin would have worked out if you just fucking would have gotten your shit together. Piece of shit.
All right, Janine. What do you want to say?
Well, I made a collection in the news desk of like several tweets that I thought were particularly funny or insightful about Segwit 2x being over, and this was one of them where someone pointed out that only six people basically wrote, actually Mike Belshie wrote an email, put other people's names in it, and that was enough to convince everyone that this thing was over. And as I think you have Peter, if you go to Peter Todd's tweet, not the next one after. Yeah. So this is one thing I definitely want to point out, because Peter Todd, mentioned that, none of these people did a PGP signed message when they made the statement. So Mike Belshie, if his Twitter account had been compromised, I don't know if it had but if it had, maybe his email had been compromised too, and someone could have taken advantage of that situation and then falsely announced that, Segwit 2x was over. And all they had to do was put a bunch of people's names in it, because apparently these people, like I've heard of or met so many CEOs in this space that they don't use PGP, or some of them don't even know how to use it. And I think this was a situation that definitely called for using PGP to sign a message, because as Peter Todd says, you ended up having like millions and millions and millions of dollars moving around today. And, that's a lot to happen from what is essentially like 3 paragraphs. I really wish that more, people of influence in the space would, claiming to be crypto experts, would actually use some basic cryptography that, was invented 20 years ago or more. So, yeah.
I think that's the problem. I think that the problem here is that these are CEOs. They're not experts. Like there's a group of CEOs.
Yeah. Sorry, real quick. Like even if it's not PGP, you can sign messages with Bitcoin keys. And that is definitely idiot-proof enough. They should be able to handle that.
No, but my point is that the technical people in these companies were all against Segwit 2x. So, I mean, it's just to think there's going to be any competence here is foolish to begin with. That's why, like, it was dead on arrival. Like, the moment they had Segwit 2x, the moment they thought that they could get something done in a room behind closed doors, it was dead. So I get what Peter is saying, but yeah, these people are idiots because no one technical on their own teams wanted to go through with this. I think that says enough.
And I think it speaks a lot to the level of competence in terms of the people that are or are not listening to the people that are the technical experts in the regards of, you know, relating to, well, what's going on here? This isn't like listening to the IT department at your company where they're all overhead and it's like, you know, maybe there'll be some security risk. The product at stake here is it exists at a level of quality relative to the quality of the people that are putting effort into it. So when you look at the product and production systems that are going to actually be creating the value system and the value proposition, and you're not listening to those engineers, treating them as if there's some, you know, overhead expense where you can, you know, choose to ignore their advice and go with a more expensive different solution, or with a different solution in general, it just doesn't work out. It's not the traditional view of, you know, IP as or IT as a department that can be ignored in terms of what's happening here. Your product is a baby of the people that actually are coding this stuff up, and not listening to them is an absolutely fatal mistake. And anybody that disagrees with that, you know, thought process, I mean, look at what just happened. Look at all the people that have egg on their face and have been embarrassed by this process. It's not something that that you want to be trying to be like, oh, I'll be an expert of my own accord. I'll just, you know, I'll assume what's going on. Not at the bleeding edge of fintech. Not a good place to go try to play jazz. Not a good option.
Yeah, and the problem,
and that's what like bothers.
When you have a company that's led by any CEO that does, especially in obviously a company that deals with cryptocurrencies, if you're dealing, not even without cryptocurrencies, if you're dealing with a company that is pushing out software and your CEO doesn't use PGP, obviously he wouldn't make it a priority to hire engineers who also use PGP. So when they're sharing software with each other, they're not going through properly secure authenticated channels. So, you know, bad software gets passed around, you know, bad messages get passed around, like it rots from the head down. Like when you have a CEO that does this kind of thing, you're going to have engineers that do the same thing.
Yeah, it's a microcosm of a bigger problem at every level of it's like fractal wrongness, where the wrongness at this certain layer of behavior is self-similar with every single other layer of examination. It's wrong at every single type of layer. And I think that you guys have a point, like, you know, is a CEO going to know this stuff? You know, maybe not. Should the CEO of somebody that's working in cryptocurrency know this kind of stuff? Absolutely. I mean, it's not optional in my opinion.
Guys,
but see, like, that's what bothers me personally, is like so many of the CEOs and the business people in this space stepped back and acknowledged that they were out of their element, that they have things to learn, be burning their reputations into a pile of dust. Just step back and go, hey, I'm not the fucking most informed person here. Like, you know, what am I missing? But they don't.
Well,
dig in.
When you fuck around in applied sciences, like sciences that actually like matter and have traction and stuff like that, when you fuck around and you're wrong, your reputation can spoil very, very, very quickly. It's not like the type of reputation maybe in some other areas where, you know, you can take a hit and you can recover and stuff like that. Like if you're objectively totally fucking wrong in this area, that's not very good for your reputation.
No, but that's my point. Like they can back off and go, hey, I fucked up. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm a business person, and now I'm gonna put this in control. People.
Yeah, I think it did.
And I'm gonna wash my hands, but they don't.
They just keep doubling down.
I know there's concern here about 30% hash rate that are going to continue on with this fork, and people have to understand that without an emergency difficulty adjustment, you're going to be losing out on a lot of money with minority hash rate.
It's an expensive plan.
It's ridiculous. It's a joke. I'm not worried about it.
Well, I mean, what's like that's what the price is okay, I'm going to be generous here. The price was like close to a quarter or a third that, and then you make it what, like a ninth, because you only have a third of the hash rate, and you're going to plow forward with that kind of profitability anyway. That tweet just seems to me like a complete troll from whoever the hell this BitPico guy is, maintaining his own distribution. Like, we're gonna do it, like, bullshit.
But you see, that's the problem. That's the problem that we have right now, is that people see that tweet and they don't know any better, and they're like, "Oh my God, the hard fork is still on." And until the education gets like just spread out, more until people realize how Bitcoin works, the incentive behind Bitcoin, this is going to keep happening. I think we're still in the early days where like we have so many. I mean, what was Coinbase? They're signing up 55,000 new people a day. So I think the amount of new people that are coming on board compared to the amount of people that are actually out there educating is not that, it's not that much. So I think we have a long road ahead of ourselves of just education. I mean, I think this is like, instead of marketing, like I know Ethereum runs on marketing. We don't have marketing teams. We had a Bitcoin Foundation that was a complete joke, and they did a horrible job. And it's on us. I mean, every person that you pitch Bitcoin to, it's your job to have them understand what they're buying, like have them understand why they're buying it. If they're in it just to make money or whatever, so be it. If they want to get wrecked, let them get wrecked. But this is going to continue happening, and we just have to deal with it and just go like, yeah, that's it.
I totally agree with Mr. Hodel. We need to have more people in the space that evangelize from a perspective of actually giving a shit about like what's going on, because we have like an exponential increase in adoption and we have a linear increase in the amount of subject matter experts, even if that. So like I have a lot of respect for Mr. Hodel. It kind of seems like there's certain people that remain behind the scenes to some extent as much as they can until they feel that things are really needing to come out, like the Block Digest crew kind of was staying behind the scenes until they were like, okay, like we need to go out and we need to get our shit together on a daily basis to try to inform people in terms of what's really going on. And I have mad respect for the independent news organizations that try to get people informed, but at the same time, Mr. Hodel is right. We need to have more subject matter experts verse themselves in Bitcoin and start to differentiate what they want from the protocol in terms of what's going to bring about the best version of the future. We need to have evangelists like that are, having as much influence as possible, instead of people that are maybe, trying to scam people or that are, have nefarious desires. Like it's very important that we outweigh those people with people that actually give a shit about the future.
I think you're both 100% right. And I know I've mentioned this in the Mumble before, how, up here, it's like, you go to a Bitcoin meetup, you're out there, out away from the computer, and you're trying to discuss this with people, and you can really, feel where people are coming from. And a lot of where I feel people are coming from with the meetup I've been going to is, it's like, there's just like this overall sense of like, it's just all about making money. It's not about what is money. And, I've thought about, I've heard this from others. It's like, start your own meetup. And I'm definitely going to do that. I'm going to start my own meetup. I think people that are out there like us that have a little bit of, a mindset of what's going on here, and you think you could communicate it, I think it's super important that you go out there and do that, because a lot of people are so immediately daunted by the space that they don't feel like even that they could speak or even start to get into it. And I've just found that more and more. And I hope that, maybe through building a meetup where it's just like, people are getting red pilled by the masses to where they're saying like, okay, wait a minute, this is way more than just making money, to where, we can start to really, do this decentralized education about what Bitcoin is.
Oh, definitely. And if you've got the DIY attitude and the DIY spirit, the do-it-yourself type of, I can do and, I want to learn and stuff like that, like you're doing it right. Like get into Bitcoin deeper, become an evangelist. Like that's the type of person that we want. Also, if you're the type of person that's really, really worried that you're going to like make a mistake or say something that's incorrect that might hurt people, you are the type of person that we need. We need people that are at the top end of the Dunning-Kruger effect, that are actually self-aware enough that they're, not motivated to give out bad information. If you can overcome your fear of public speaking, or if you can overcome your fear of whatever, and you're actually somebody that's, you know, battling with your own psyche to give out good and positive information, that's super important to the ability of people to communicate positively. People on the lower end of the Dunning-Kruger effect that'll just, you know, say whatever, whenever, for any purpose, they're not as valuable as the people that are a little bit anxious about going out and giving, you know, information that might be good or bad. They'll actually be motivated to research what they're talking about and to engage in real productive journalism, as opposed to just, you know, whatever the hell type of shilling may be popular that week. So, you know, get involved, get engaged, do it.
Or reading out Cointelegraph articles, you know, I mean, that's cool too.
Just,
All right, Twitter. Charlene, come on, Charlene's been waiting for ages to come in. Charlene's been waiting to come in. Come on.
Yeah, so if anyone's wondering, this is the tweet that kind of inspired the title of the show. The funny thing is, I was actually thinking, like, I went downstairs somewhere in the kitchen. I was like, I want to make some lyrics with remember the 5th of November. I was trying to think of a lyric to that whole verse. And then I come upstairs, I check Twitter, and this Keenan, I think. Keon made this tweet, and I was like, God damn it, he did it first. So yeah, if anyone, this was one of the tweets that inspired the title of today's show.
Definitely remember the 8th of November.
Oh, but you scrolled away like we were going to recite it with the epicness.
No, but I really like this one. Forget your enemies, but never forget their names.
Ooh.
damn.
Kennedy. Yeah. He's probably talking about the Fed. Remember the 8th of November. Oh, really?
Right. Do we want to go through some more tweets, or have we flogged this horse?
This guy, this is a smart motherfucker who keeps a low profile. But he says very smart things.
Everyone definitely should follow that guy.
All right. Followed.
Yeah, I think he's making a great point though there about like which was you know, a bigger problem, was the Parity attack or the NYA, and I mean I think it's pretty obvious, the Parity attack.
Yeah, but Ethereum actually went up in price. They should probably get hacked some more. It's obviously very bullish for them. And then chain split, existential crisis. What are they going to do now? You know, twiddle their thumbs and wait for the next fork.
I think they're going to be hard at work. If they're going to be focused, they're not going to be so rushed. I think they're still going to put out a great product. And
I also think that this is going to make people think twice about forking, because I really think that one of what they tried to pull was they tried to make it so the average user had a really hard time selling 2x coins. And if you have a hard time selling 2x coins, that props up the price where miners could start mining for a lot longer, because once it gets easier to dump your coins, then, you know, they have a problem. So I have a feeling. Yeah, exactly. I have a feeling that this no replay was done on purpose, not because you could lose your Bitcoins, because I know there's a lot of fun going on that there's somehow your Bitcoins could get taken away or reorged. That was impossible. But you were, you know, if you moved your coins, you were going to lose your 2x coins, and that kind of puts an artificial down pressure on the price because the supply goes away. You're burning supply. So I think that was all part of the plan. I think they knew exactly what they were doing with replay.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's take a step back here and look at the specifics for those with a shorter memory span, or maybe who didn't think too much into it. The original structure of the replay protection, requiring the spending of an output to a specific address, intentionally Bitcoin's UTXO set. It was literally an attack on Bitcoin in the way it was structured as opt-in replay protection, because it would bloat the shit out of our UTXO set. And then when people pointed this out and complained about it, what did they do? And did no replay protection. So even their initial attempt at replay protection was a fucking attack. Just upped it to the next level when we called them out on it. I mean, let's not forget and lose track of the context of all this shit because of Bitcoin time dilation.
Well, and then at the
let's
same time,
always remember
at the
to
same
step
time,
back.
at the same time, we have the same party that's engaged in these type of actions, being like Adam Back is a bad guy. Blockstream are a bunch of bad people that are engaged in a scam, and centralization is shameful. And in the future, we'll look back on these people negatively. While at the same time, people that are versed in computer science can see a shoddy product that wants to be shoved into production early, and then they're engaged in these types of changes that are going to have the effect of an insular value proposition that is by definition a scam and stuff. And people are like, you know, these Bitcoin maximalists, small blockers, UTXO set non-bloat maximalists are like upset. And it's like, yeah, you know, based on all the objective information that we have about you trying to ram through a categorically inferior change, like that's upsetting stuff. But I think that even still, I didn't see anybody going, you know, too nuts or flying off the handle that was on the, you know, side of tenability, in my estimation. A lot of the personal attacks that I saw anyway.
Do you think we could get 300K blocks? Micro blocks?
I would do it at this point. Like, do it. Like, seriously. Like, I mean, with the like the kind of shit we're seeing, like with Blockstream's downlink from a satellite, like Szabo's presentation with Elaine Wu on the radio relay propagation. Like, if we actually had that infrastructure building itself out for that, I would do it. Like point blank.
I just want to add,
if we could tune it and make it smaller, and that helped decentralization, and that helped the projects that Shinobi mentioned, I mean, fuck yeah. I mean, I think that's what we should focus on first before we're like, everybody bro down and get a yacht.
I just want to mention that when you lower the limit, that's a soft fork, and it's doable. And Luke Dash Jr. is all about it. He's been championing this now for over a year. So Luke knew.
So wait, you can lower the block size without doing a hard fork. You can just do it with a soft fork.
Yes.
Yeah, and exactly, like Luke's proposal is
after
actually very brilliant, because it took this dynamic block size bullshit from Bitcoin Unlimited that was just outright insane, and kind of combined that dynamic, like progression of loosening that was a set schedule, the most objective information that we can have, and even though it's not and not 100% accurate on the health of internet connections, so that we could like have that soft fork, a permanent like solid limit, where now we have to hard fork out of it. It was a progression by which that limit would be loosened.
Well,
and
think about it. Think about it.
Like,
if we reduce the block size, and then we also hard fork to reduce tech debt, so that we have the assumed, you know, functionality of the protocol without all these daisy chain hacks that are together. So we hard fork it without it being a bullshit reason for hard fork, with actual computer scientists being like, if we hard fork all the soft forks into the, you know, just really, really sleek production code, and then we have that at 300K, that would be a really, really, really sleek, fast, great system that would scale out to the people that need to be, you know, most desperately risen with the tide of all this stuff. And like, that would be great. And I think that there's a huge cost to all these assholes trying to split the chain for reasons that are just completely and literally technologically untenable, aside from, I simply want to race to scale to Visa. And like, that's not what we're engaged in.
I made that argument more than a few times, and it just boggles my mind that it's like, oh well, no one's making that argument.
Yeah, I'm not as bullish as these guys are on hard forks. I think
I'm not bullish on it. It doesn't matter if it happens or not, but it's what should be focused on in that direction. If we're going to go in that direction at all, I guess my point is that it should be tenable, even if we don't get it done, even if we don't have a whole bunch of people that are going all crazy and pushing for it and trying to push the price, it doesn't happen.
I agree that, I mean, if you were to do a hard fork, it should be done for the right reasons. But I think even for the right reasons, you'll still split the chain.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, Huddle, but I think the core of his point is that there is literally to hard fork at all, aside from optimizing the data structures that relate to consensus. Like, everything else, soft forks. There is no requirement whatsoever to hard fork except to change consensus-related data structures. And the fact that these people don't, like, you don't understand how this works, appreciate that, like, at all.
You were chopping up a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't hear everything you said there.
Oh,
I agree, though. I agree that, you know, there will be hard forks that are non-contentious, and technically they shouldn't be a problem, you know, to get consensus on. But you have a whole group of people out there that just will not upgrade for political reasons. And then you'll have a whole other set of group of people that, you know, are not aware of what's going on. And it's very hard to.
Well, like, my point is this,
ahead.
Huddle. Like, to give more block space, you don't need a hard fork for that. These people behind 2x realize that, as we showed with that screenshot from the BTC1 Slack. An extension block is soft forkable. The only thing
I agree.
that requires a hard fork is changing the block header format.
I agree. I agree with you.
Specific data structures are gauged.
guys, so someone in chat is pointing out that BitShares can actually do more transactions than Visa. So should we be using BitShares or?
Yeah, everyone on BitShares.
BitShares.
I don't want to talk about hard forks for much longer, but I just want to say that, like, Shinobi, I agree with you, but what I'm saying is that even when a hard fork is not contentious, forget about block size increases. I'm talking about non-contentious hard forks.
Entirely. Like, you and me have had this argument so many times, and I used to say you were wrong, but you're right.
Yeah, that's all.
Over an infinite time horizon, I don't know if it's impossible, but I think you're right. It's not practical in any type of short period of time.
For everyone that doesn't know this, SegWit has been talked about probably since late 2010, early 2011. The reason the core devs didn't take it serious was because the only way to implement that at that time was with the hard fork. So it was just, it was just like confidential transactions. It was just something that everyone was talking about, but knew it wouldn't be able to get done. When Luke Dash Jr. figured out a way how to solve,
who talked about it in 2010?
Oh, there's a whole, or late 2010. It was like 2011 is when they started talking about segregating witness. But it was with the hard fork. They didn't know how to do it with the soft fork. It wasn't until Luke Dash Jr. in 2013, I believe, figured out a way how to implement it with a soft fork, and that's when everyone got excited, because you could upgrade it and it was backwards compatible with all the nodes, pretty much up to 0.1. When Satoshi created it.
I had no idea that it had been talked about for that long. The first time that I had heard about it at all was I talked with Peter Todd at the Crypto Castle, I think in 2013 or 14. He was talking about lazy witness, which was a very, very, very similar solution. It wasn't complete. Like, it was, the witness information would be excised. But yeah, I didn't know that it had been talked about for that long.
Yeah, when I go on the Mumble, like later on the Mumble, I'll dig up those logs on IRC, and
all right, sweet.
I don't think it was named SegWit at the time. Like, I don't think that was the name that they were using. But it was segregated witnesses. Like, that was the idea. It was just that no one took it serious. I mean, it was, it was just one of those things that at that time they thought they needed to do a hard fork. They knew it's impossible to do one right now without splitting the network. I mean, even when you have, in order to not split the network, you have to have everybody move over. Everybody, like 100% of the users that are running nodes all have to move. They all have to download the chain. It's very hard to coordinate that. We don't even know how many nodes are on the network. We only know that what we could see. We don't know any of the nodes that are on the Onion network. We don't know. And I personally think that there are probably more nodes on the Onion network than there are.
What if nodes get orphaned?
If nodes get orphaned?
Yeah.
You're joking, right?
No, it's not the end of the world.
What do you mean?
Their coins are still available if they go back and they change their node and they still have all their private keys and everything. It's not the end of the world if nodes get orphaned, man.
No, but
I think he means like if a node gets cut off from an active network. I think.
Yeah, but you're splitting. Yeah, but if you would have to basically, unless you think 100% of the hash power is moving over, you're getting another chain. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. If 100% of the hash power moves over, and then you have some economic nodes or some nodes out there in the wild that don't want to mine, and the difficulty doesn't get lowered enough, that's a dead chain. But you need 100% of the hash power to move over, or else eventually you might have.
And that would take like 7 years of ultra popular consensus.
Yeah, it'll take a long time.
I think it's more nuanced than that. I think that ultimately, like, people get obsessed over the throughput of the block size and things like hash rate, but those things don't matter. Network effect.
Now it's height and density.
It's the people. It's the people who value any specific set of consensus rules. And, you know, like it was kind of demonstrated in an indirect way here, that they had 80% of the hash rate pledged to move over to this fork. I don't value that for shit. Almost no, like literally not a single person I personally know valued that for shit, except what amount of free money can I get? That's not a sustainable network effect.
Exactly what you're talking about. I heard Jordan Peterson talking in a lecture this week, and he said there's something that's worth thinking about, and it's worth spending about 5 years thinking about. And that thing that's worth thinking about is the saying, people don't have ideas. Ideas have people. And think about that in the context of this space, about the ideas of decentralization and the ideas of making the future better, the ideas of not fucking over everything that you've worked for, like to really be Spartan in the face of a lot of struggle to make it so that the ideas that have, you know, really come to define you win out in the end. And I think that that's really what you're talking about, kind of distilled down to the extent of there are some serious ideas at play here, and there are people that will not see those ideas forsaken.
Called an egregore. That used to be like a very occult concept, like in the 19th, earliest 20th century, and this was kind of like part of the process of trying to take like the occult and like make it scientific. But like the whole notion of an egregore, really a meme, an idea that is so widely actuated and held by people that idea lives on its own. Like any individual or group that holds it can like die, disappear, stop believing in it. But just through the sheer weight of its network effect, that idea will continue to live on in a way on its own. And like it's an occult term. Obviously, it came out of complete pseudoscience. But like that concept, I think, is a very concept for analyzing ideas or memes. In that, like this particular idea, like Bitcoin or like something like religions, to apply this more like widespread, like these ideas will continue living even if some subset of the people who hold them stop like holding that idea. And like so much in our societies, in our human cultures, inform an egregore. They're just ideas that are so widely spread that they don't depend on any specific subgroup or individuals to exist as ideas. It's really like, I think where the notion of you can't kill an idea comes from. Like once it's widely spread enough, like good luck. You're not going to stop it.
The word idea actually comes from the Greek word edein, and it means to see. And so it's a form of sight. I think that the ancient Greeks had this conception that seeing and hearing is actually historical in nature, because by the time you've seen something, it's already happened. But ideas, having an idea is a true sight, or as you know, Blake put it, and you've articulated really well, Shinobi, those ideas have you, and they actually come from the future. They are, because you can have an idea, but the idea hasn't reached its potential yet. It hasn't been actualized, hasn't been realized into the world. And so actually ideas are our truest form of vision, I think, because we see the future as it could be, not as it is right now.
It's like Alan Watts said, all perfectly known futures are past, for they have happened virtually. Only the true future is a mystery, and only imagination can ever help navigate that landscape. Nothing else can ever have the prophetic nature required to be able to navigate that. You can only ever understand things looking backwards, but we must move forwards. So I think that's why Einstein said that imagination is more important than knowledge.
Yeah, wow, that was really well put. Blake, I love me some Alan Watts. Thank you for that. Really cool. Guys, what's next?
Wasn't there
What is
that
next?
joke thing? That thing that needs to get fixed because they fucked up the stuffs, and it's really funny.
Oh, what, Ethereum?
The parity
What?
parity.
The parody? We got the parody party. Okay, right. What is this? Who put this on the news desk? Okay, Janine, you're up.
Okay, so this is the update that came. Most people probably didn't see it because it came overnight, relatively Eastern and European time. And everyone was concentrating a lot on the Segwit 2x, so they probably didn't hear about it. But the Ethereum Foundation head of security, Martin Holst, apparently did a short interview with CoinDesk, and he said that the only way to fix the funds being locked in the Parity wallets is to do a hard fork. He said there's unfortunately no way to recreate the code without a hard fork. Any solution which makes the locked funds accessible requires a hard fork. And then I believe he also said separately on Twitter that because apparently people, they're claiming that the Ethereum Foundation should be responsible for what happens with Parity. And so he said the Ethereum Foundation is not liable for the Parity funds, or if there is a fork, if that happens, which I find interesting because Vitalik, I believe, was the one who proposed the Ethereum improvement proposal that would allow them to unlock the funds. So...
So is Lord Vitalik asking for a hard fork then? Is that official?
What was the phrase? Is
no, yeah, he's
Vitalik
not.
on the verge of a second bailout for dumb contracts?
Yeah. So yeah, Vitalik also tweeted, and he said that he wasn't going to comment on security issues with wallets. But I don't know. I find that a bit hard to believe. I mean, if you're going to have to hard fork Ethereum to fix a wallet issue, especially with that amount of money, I mean, does anyone here think they're actually going to care at the hard fork? Because people are saying it's unlikely because the amount of funds is lower than the DAO fork, and they've gotten so much bad press from the fork that they did for the DAO that they might not go ahead with this one.
It's like a new kind of prison. You're in the prison of having your value locked up by the hard fork, and so you're in prison. You're like, fucking like rattling on the bars with your meal plate and stuff like that.
You got the Ethereum booze over there.
All right.
All you can do is sit and wait, hope for a hard fork to come and unlock your hard-earned dough that you put in the wrong place.
Don't they have like a scheduled hard fork coming up anyway? Like right before this incident, they have like some sort of scheduled hard fork coming in, right? I mean, like,
yeah, but the trouble with that is that now they've got to set up a committee, because you're setting a precedent with that, and that is that the foundation. I mean, as this gentleman says, is this the guy Janine that was featured in CoinDesk? Yes, it was. So he's saying that the foundation is not and cannot be liable for the foundation can set client defaults for fork, no fork, but it's always the individual nodes miners who decide, just like the DAO. So it's, it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, Jeff there's got his popcorn out and he's ready to roll. But I don't think you can leave it up to the foundation, because otherwise they just become a committee with arbitration, and I don't think they want to get into that.
I want my pre-sale coins that I lost the password for. Where's my hard fork? So I can put it into Bitcoin.
Well, if you think about it, it's actually very similar to the PayPal problem. PayPal and Airbnb and all these businesses that try to set up two-sided markets between individuals, so that I can rent out my apartment and somebody else can use it, and there's a reputation system, and it's got this self-healing mechanism where bad actors are kind of incentivized out of the system and good actors are sort of surfaced up to the top of the rankings, is that inevitably as a business laying out that market, you end up becoming the platform and therefore liable to mediate in the event of any disputes that arise. And as a result, that performs a burden on the business, and the cost and the margin that you put on the prices that people are able to offer in that market, the fees, can sometimes become prohibitive. I don't think that PayPal enjoy mediating disputes. I really don't. I think it's an overhead that they don't like. It ends up adding cost to the business. They end up having to bury that cost or offset it in some sort of loss leading exercise where customers end up thinking they're paying one thing and then they end up paying something else because the business wanted to kind of disguise the cost as something else. So it ends up with price discrimination, lack of transparency, and the foundation are finding, the Ethereum Foundation are finding themselves in exactly the same position. They don't want to be mediators every single time.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah.
Can I translate for you?
Yeah.
All right, I'm speaking on behalf of the Ethereum Foundation. SEC, we're totally not a security. And control nothing. We're totally not in charge of how this system works. We're not a security. Please don't sue us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It reminds me of Half-Life. I used to play Half-Life, and it was one of the first-person shooters, and I used to hard fork all the time away from the timeline in which I died. It was called saving. And I used to checkpoint or save my progress more and more and more retentively and OCD-ish towards the end. And when Ethereum is like, oh, don't worry, we have a hard fork planned, it's like, that sounds similar to the way that I totally never controlled the reality in my save game. I made it all through that game in one try through. That was, you can watch it from start to finish. I don't die once. So it's kind of, it kind of rhymes with certain elements of client technology and not necessarily protocol and security.
I want to clarify, Ethereum or the Ethereum Foundation has not said that they are planning to do a hard fork. The statement was just that if they want to fix the issue with the frozen funds, they would have to do a hard fork. But the head of security did not say that they were going to do a hard fork. So we're still waiting on that.
Well, definitely, but I mean, just the general understanding that you're not really going to be able to change proof of work to proof of stake without a hard fork. So there's always just this big amorphous Ethereum gigantic foundational hard fork that's off in the distance that nobody really knows when it's coming. So it's kind of a fun marketing tool to be like, that hard fork's going to have all the ponies and all the value adds and all the things fixed, and it's going to be secure. And we're going to talk with our hands in that hard fork, and it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I doubt that they really, I don't know where they're going to stand on hard forking this to, bail these people out. But, I know that the Ethereum roadmap has several hard forks in it. And, whenever the next one does come up, I don't know how these funds are going to sit with that. But, it wouldn't seem too surprising to me if they just sort of shoot it in with it.
All right. So let's move on to the next story, if everyone's okay with that. And let's visit an old classic, which is Silk Road and the dodgy FBI agents. Whose story is this? Is it yours? Okay, go for it.
Yeah, so this is a story, I think the sentencing happened yesterday, but Sean Bridges, who is one of the corrupt agents who stole some of the funds that they obtained from Silk Road, he just got sentenced again. He was originally sentenced to 71 months in prison, and I think I have to check. I think the hearing happened yesterday, but he just got given an additional 2 years in prison.
Wow. That's like, I don't know, this is going to be a little bit subjective, but when you're an FBI agent and you get like the book thrown at you in terms of being punished, that almost feels like using up a free pass. Like you must have really done something in terms of
The judge apparently said that, was quoted as saying that this was one of the worst crimes, which I actually found surprising. Like I wouldn't put this on the scale of being the worst. I mean, it's definitely horrible, but when you have a judge saying that it's one of the worst crimes, that's a big deal.
Well, and I hope that they're not just trying to cover their ass and make it so that they can sleep well at night by saying it's one of the worst. It's like, it's one of the worst because these crimes, there's a derivative of these crimes that were pinned onto Ross Ulbricht. So if this is like super bad, which I agree it is, it's one of the worst because it's an abortion of justice itself. They need to call a mistrial on Ross's trial. I mean, what the hell? Like,
Yes.
we're in the twilight zone.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. There was proof that other people had access to those accounts that Ross operated. There was a refusal to let him admit server logs from to his trial. Like,
I mean, he needs a fucking jury.
Entire thing is insane.
He needs a jury of his peers. I'm sorry, I just got to just say this really quick. He needs a jury of his fucking peers, and his peers need to be computer scientists. Every single person on that jury needs to understand computer science, and I know that's a huge expectation to put in any case, but god damn it, this is one of the times when it fucking really matters. I'm sorry, Satoshi.
The thing I want to bring up real quick is oh.
I did not just say that. Fucking abort. Shut it down.
I made the same mistake.
But like, seriously though, like there was proof that other people had access to that account, allowed to submit that in his defense. If anybody remembers the Variety Jones claim, I think around 2015, correct me if the year was wrong, but there was a claim that a person from the law enforcement involved in the case was actually involved in shenanigans like Force and Bridges, as far as like stealing money out of the Silk Road servers and pretty much manipulating the case. And there was also evidence that the server logs I retrieved were manipulated, that was refused by the judge as far as admitting evidence in Ross's defense. And there was a whole public like thing where this person who was claiming to be another administrator of the Silk Road servers was claiming this third federal agent was extorting and pretty much threatening to kidnap Ross Ulbricht's sister and mother to extort Ulbricht for keys that he thought Ulbricht had that were not recovered by federal agents. And just the web of potential in this case, to see the way that the judge responded to Bridges' sentencing again for these new charges, while not revisiting the entire Ulbricht case, is fucking disgusting. The fact that he was not allowed to admit evidence in his defense based on the arbitrary like assessment of the judge.
Yeah, you kind of cut out there at the end.
He's been shut down. He's been shut down. He was trying to criticize the judge in the Ross Ulbricht case. He just kind of had it in for Ross and just basically didn't let his defense team get a word in edgeways or present any evidence. And now Shinobi himself has found himself victim of the deep state, or should I say Satoshi?
Don't see, that's why he's really dead, and I didn't want to say it, but you had to bring it up again. We're gonna have to delete this whole episode. I think we're gonna have to scrub this from the internet.
We might have to. Look, guys, another thing we might need to scrub from the internet is all our nudes.
Send nudes.
Zuckerberg wants you to send nudes. He wants you to send your nudes so that in the event of revenge porn, they can detect the images. This is what a nude looks like, by the way. If you're in a studio of some sort, you're very out of focus, but someone's taking a picture of you on a smartphone for some reason.
Well, I already told you guys earlier that I don't have time for this story because I'm way too busy submitting a whole bunch of nudes and taking a whole bunch of pictures for Facebook. I don't have time for this. I got a whole bunch of homework from Mark Zuckerberg. It's kind of weird, but I do my homework, so.
So is Mark asking you to take the nudes? Has he put in any particular requests, or is he just saying send in the nudes that you've already got?
So I assume so, because otherwise, I mean, everybody's got access to pornography on the internet. So he's got to be asking for fresh content, right? He wants to know what my bush looks like as opposed to my skin tone and stuff like that, right? I mean, it's got to be all original content.
I see. And yeah, I suppose everyone's bush is unique. Shanine, what do you make of this?
Yeah, so I just want to explain briefly what is actually going on and what they're asking for. So what they want you to do is upload your nudes that you most likely have stored on your smartphone, which I don't know why you're doing that, but okay, in the first place. They want you to upload your nudes to Facebook, and then what they do is they make a hash of the photo. And so if someone else hacks your smartphone, because smartphones are not safe, and they take your photos and they for some reason, you know, if someone steals my nudes and upload, I don't know, the first place would be I don't think the first place would be Facebook. But anyway, hacker uploads them to Facebook. Facebook then has a database of all the hashes of the photos you sent them, and that will match unless the person changed, you know, a pixel in the photo, because then it completely messes up the hash. But let's say the hacker's really dumb and they didn't change anything about the photo. The Facebook will make a hash of that photo. It'll match it with the hash they have in the database of when you sent the picture, and then they will block the photo from showing up on Facebook. So that's how it supposedly works. Obviously, the biggest problem, as I already said, is that the hashing only works if you don't change the photo. If you get the photo and you change even one pixel, messes up the hash, and Facebook will not recognize it unless they are also doing some additional analysis of the photo itself for faces or whatever. And the other problem is, you know, you're uploading your nudes to Facebook, and they claim they're not going to keep any of the photos. They're just going to make hashes, and that's it. They're not going to keep a reserve somewhere. But to be honest, I highly doubt that. People have suggested that if Facebook really wants to do this in a somewhat more secure way, they should have the users hash the photo on their end and then send it to Facebook. But of course, they're probably not going to think about that. And to be honest, I think this is a pretty inefficient way to combat revenge porn.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's straight up stupid. I mean, whenever you engage in any activity, I mean, to some extent, it's a risk assessment. Does the risk of engaging in this behavior outweigh the benefit of what we're going to get on the other end? And in terms of like doing this is like, what we're going to do is we're going to hash something, and then maybe we use facial recognition, maybe bush recognition. But at the same time, you have now created where you were completely insulated before from this happening. Now you've created a risk vector of your nudes that are on your phone that, yeah, they're hashed when they get into the hands of somebody else, but they're not hashed on your phone. If you delete them from your phone before, you know, you do a permanent overwrite, I mean, it's like, it's literally not a good idea to do this. It's almost like saying we're going to have a department downtown where a whole bunch of people are going to go and register as non-criminals. So go register as a non-criminal, then everybody runs there and gets stabbed during the line to register as a non-criminal because it's lured all the criminals there. It's like literally on a par with that bad of an idea.
Guys, you guys you don't realize that the New World Order, they're just really looking after your best interest. They're just trying to help you work through that body image self-shame, to just realize you are beautiful no matter what you look like. And they just want to get that picture out there so you can accept that. So you can have that stress washed away out of your mind.
they decided not to go with the hashtag assist CIA blackmail because, like, what a cui bono? Like, how could this otherwise be worth any of this embarrassment for their company?
No, disclaimer. Apparently, some people think I have nudes. I do not have nudes anywhere. And I also want to point out. I also want to point out that you know, Facebook has a very wide range of ages of people on their site. You know, they supposedly have a 13-year-old age limit, so you have to be 13 years or older. But of course, anyone who grew up when Facebook was getting popular knows that that's not true. There's a bunch of kids getting on there at like 5 years old and stuff. So when Facebook says that they want its users to send nudes, they have to be extremely careful. I hope they put some kind of age limit on that request, because otherwise they are literally requesting nudes from children.
Wow.
Or at least legally children.
Pederast.
So Facebook, guys, this is it. This is how we bring down Facebook. We fucking get them for child porn distribution. Come on. This is our chance, guys. Let's fucking nail them.
No, the other avenues were shut down because, you know, Hollywood was getting shut down. So with Hollywood getting shut down, they were like, Zuckerberg, can you hook us up with some underage shit? And he was like, dude, I got an idea.
Right, man. I mean, like, really, I mean, like, it really does like freak me out hearing this story because it does seem like almost just so absurd that it's got to be fake. But I mean, it wouldn't really surprise me if they're trying to do something like that because, like Janine said, the age gap really from people on there, it's like people that aren't really technically proficient. And I saw in the article it was saying upload your nude pics to Facebook Messenger, the app, which I don't know. Like I had heard a long time ago that the Messenger was just basically CIA spyware. I mean, like it had like known backdoors in it, and it's just like you know, they're hoping you've already got that installed. They're hoping you don't really understand all the operational security you're supposed to take in your own privacy, and then just like give it to us so we could sell it to Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey needs a reason to feel good right now. Just go ahead and help us out.
I just thought the developers just wanted to jerk off to some porn. I don't know why they can't just find it on the internet.
Occam's razor.
Conspiracy.
Occam's
Yeah, it's just easier if they just get their users to send it in. Right. Well, on that note,
chat knows why it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, final thoughts. Final thoughts. Send nudes. Send nudes to Jeff Garzik. He needs it. He needs cheering up.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't make us responsible for that.
All views expressed on this channel are those of Shinobi Monkey. He is the owner and the sole proprietor of this YouTube channel. So
I have a confession, guys. I have multiple personalities, and I have some weird time dilation tricks that I play to just pretend to be all these other people. You're just listening to crazy me.
Are you Jeff Garzik as well? Or is that your alter ego?
No,
I'm Frank Abagnale Jr.
He's also Satoshi as well. This is kind of gets confusing.
I'm Jeff Garzik, and I'm Satoshi, and I'm Adam Back, and I'm Larimer. And
one funny thing, Blake, Mr. Blake, to cut you off. Wouldn't it be fucking hilarious if 30% of the miners followed through with forking on this BitPico client and it had like bugs in it that broke consensus between those third of miners?
Yeah, it would be anti-pragmatic to the point of like a fool and their money are soon parted. Like it's just it's too expensive to do it.
All right. Well, on that note, we ask you that if you did enjoy today's show, you can send us your nudes. But remember, only if you want to. Bye for now. Bye. Say bye, everyone. Bye.